Any questions?
Hi, Patrick. This is Kathy Wilson.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. First, thank you. Thank you so very much. This has been wonderful. A question for you about when you said we would send CERT members to the public gathering area just to kind of let them know what's happening. How would we identify that team? Because it doesn't sound like a damage assessment team or a response team. And also, how many CERT members would we be sending to the public gathering area to do this?
So in all things, when we're sending people out, it's always in a minimum of 2, a pair. We never want to send anybody by themselves. And that's for safety reasons. If somebody gets injured and they can't report it in, hopefully their team member, their battle buddy, their partner, whatever we want to call them, I call them working pairs, that second person's able to call it in and get help. It also allows one person to be doing a job and the other person keeps situational awareness. Unfortunately, the reality is that sometimes, especially when people are desperate, there is a danger to being there in a uniform. And so we always need to keep that situational awareness. One person doing something is going to be focused on that one task, and that second person can be there to be their eyes and ears and make sure they stay safe. In terms of communication, it's the idea of a tactical call sign is it's a task or duty or location. So if you're at a public gathering area, you're going to your tactical call sign will be essentially that public gathering area. I'm at the Verdugo Park public gathering area. That's my call sign. That makes sense?
Yes, but I guess too, if you're the one that are making the assignments, when would you decide to send that pair to the public gathering area? And also too, could this be, as you said, some of the volunteers who may be older or maybe less physical than others? Is this something that perhaps they could be assigned to do?
It's definitely a possibility. It's going to completely depend on what you have available to you. You're going to do the most good with what you have. If you have 5 people who showed up at the staging area, you're not going to be sending people to that public gathering area. If you have 25 people who showed up at the staging area, now you have resources you can spare.
Got it. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Patrick, we have several people with their hands up. Linda Pruitt, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, you had said earlier where this information is going to be posted. And by the way, thank you very much. It was a great presentation. And I tried desperately to get everything down in my notes, but I know I missed a couple of things. So where can I find where this will be posted? Did you just say on the CERT website?
This is going to be on our LAFD CERT Facebook pages. So we have ones for different areas, Central Bureau, Valley Bureau. There's a disaster group that is basically South Bureau. I don't know what West Bureau has really going on. They don't seem to. I think there's a Battalion 9 group, and then there's battalion groups. Battalion 2, 1, and 11 have their own groups. Battalion 6, Battalion 12, Battalion 10. So this will go up on as many of them as I have access to. So hopefully you'll be able to find it. Certainly you'll find it on the CERT Central Bureau page.
Thank you very much.
Benjamin Goldfarb, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Patrick, you talked about the FRS radios and generating a tone of some kind. I'm not familiar with that tone. Could you provide some background on that, please?
So what I mentioned is what's called a PL tone, private line tone. It's a way that the radio is listening to, it's a sub-audible tone, and the radio is listening for it rather. So when it picks up the radio transmission, if that tone is not present, the radio will not play the audio. It's more complicated than that, but that's the general gist, is that the radio is not going to you won't be able to hear someone else's communication if you have that pltone set. But
Michael?
that radio transmission still happens.
Michael, I muted your microphone by accident, so if you have a follow-up, unmute. All right, Rico Cabrera, go ahead. Rico, don't forget to unmute.
Good afternoon, Patrick and Dean. Thank you for holding this presentation. But Patrick, the team leader concept, going back out with the 3 team leader, scribe, and that's the second, third person, I forget.
Radio operator.
Radio operator, okay. The scribe, of course, is going to be very critical there, but to document everything, should it be at rapid fire, is there some type of a form or a standard booklet? I think I was looking at SOS, and I thought I saw something in there about a notebook that might be for drills like this. Is there an issue that goes out to LAFD that it's possible that we could use? Or
so there's a couple things. You have the ICS forms, and there's a book of forms. Okay. What CERT has done is they've taken a lot of these forms and kind of customized them for CERT purposes. And so there is an actual damage assessment form. There's a few different things, radio communication form. So if you look for CERT forms, you'll find there's an older set of them and a newer set. I tend to mix and match because I like some of the older ones better than the newer ones. I really like the sign-in form better, the older one, because it gives you an opportunity to grade your abilities on medical, search and rescue, ICS, stuff like that, that the newer form doesn't. But you'll be able to find those if you just search for CERT forms. The ICS forms will work just as well, and there's always Form 0, blank sheet of paper.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we still have people holding up their hands, but let me take a couple questions from the chat. Patrick, how big an area should a staging area cover?
I recommend most people can handle about a mile radius. Most people can walk a mile. Anything more than that, and it's going to become difficult. You won't be able to do it in a reasonable amount of time.
Okay, a mile, that's a huge radius. So I guess it depends on how many CERT teams you have.
The other metric I use is about 10 blocks.
Or 20 blocks, 10 to 20 blocks. Okay.
Go out 10 blocks and then zigzag back.
All right, another question. How do we find out what the call sign is for the Monday Zello Radio Net meeting?
So the LAFD CERT Zello Net is a closed network. You have to request a call sign, and I'll post that in the chat. It's also been up on our Facebook groups as well. It's a Google form that you go fill out, letting me know what battalion you live in, what your closest fire station is, and then our call signs are based on street name. The idea is that we don't want to give out too much personal information, but at the same time, we want to make it so that if you're looking at the list of participants and you know your fire station and you know your surrounding area, you might see that there's already 5 people in your immediate neighborhood, and based on their street name and fire station, you have an idea where they are, so you can reach out to them and establish communication. That makes sense.
So when the meeting's over, you'll post that Google form in the link to the Google form in the chat?
I'm doing that right now.
All right. Larissa Marco, go ahead. Larissa, I saw that you unmuted, but we don't hear you. Larissa, we see you're unmuted, but we still don't hear you. You're breaking up, Larissa. Okay, Larissa muted herself again, so I'm going to go on to Orlando Bohr.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, Orlando.
Patrick, I'm wondering if when I'm managing the staging area, how do I generate an incident number?
Sequentially.
Do I start on my own initiative, or do I have to follow some sequence from some sort of source?
These staging areas are going to be essentially self-contained. Your incident number 1 is the first incident. Incident number 2, incident number 3 for your staging area, and everything based on your staging area. When you're reporting it into your CERT command team or the fire department, your incident number is irrelevant to them, but it's how you're tracking things. And if you do give them an incident number, they'll feed it into their system, and they'll might give you a different one back if they do.
Oh, okay.
But sequentially is going to be the easiest, and you don't want to make it too complicated.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sandy Tanaka, go ahead.
It's actually Scott. Patrick, I had a question. We're in Battalion 6, and we're surrounded by other cities. We've got Lomita, Torrance, so it's not all LAFD areas. So what do we do as far as search boundaries? How do we interact with these other neighborhoods?
Reach out to them, communicate, see if they've got a CERT team.
Well, if we don't have that kind of information, I mean, do we stop at our city boundaries? Do we just, I'm not sure. A lot of other areas are surrounded all by LA City, so they're dealing just with LAFD, but we're, like I said, we're dealing with Torrance Fire Department, with LAS, LA County Fire, these other CERT areas and fire departments.
You're generally going to focus on your neighborhood, your immediate neighborhood. So if you're talking, you're on the border of Torrance and LA City, there might be some overlap, but generally you're going to be focusing on your neighborhood and not Torrance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like say our border is maybe a block away from our home, and we see across the street, which is in Torrance now, we see something. Are we still going to be, I guess we'll still be responding if we see something happening. Is there any other procedure towards this kind of situation?
It's going to be dependent on if you make contact with them and they have a team and they say, this is what we're doing. I can't really, there's no definition of how this works. The reality is this is not training, and we're getting this question a lot, especially from the East Coast people. This is not training that's put on by FEMA or put out by FEMA. This is me aggregating trainings from different trainings I've taken. The CERT training, the FEMA manual, the ICS 100, 200, 300, 400 classes. This is stuff that I've put together because this training doesn't, to my knowledge, really exist. And there's no set parameters. There's no set, this is how we do things. This is an idea of what you can do. This is a basis for you to build upon down the road. So each neighborhood's going to be different. Each community, each city is going to be different. You might come across a team in Torrance that says, yeah, we're in the city of Torrance, but we're not doing anything. What are you guys doing? Or they might say, yeah, we have an extensive CERT team here, and this is what we're doing. What are you guys doing? So you need to establish that communication and figure it out. I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah, we've been trying to do that, working with some of these other teams, but we're still trying.
Mike, you're muted.
In that vein, if this is not official CERT training, there's a question in the chat that says, are we getting a certificate for this training?
No, I'm not. This is not training from a certifying body. So I know you want to. We're not giving certificates out.
All right, Rico, go ahead again. Rico, did you have another question?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. You muted yourself again, Rico.
What am I doing here? Hello? Can you hear me now?
We got you, Rico. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Patrick, yeah, quickly for us, they're trying to learn more. CPR training referrals, anything that's looking at our own neighborhoods for that? And the second question would be, would all the future meetings like this or even training sessions go through Eventbrite so we can be on alert for that?
I'll answer the second part first. Yes, we're using Eventbrite to schedule our trainings and get them out there so people can sign up for it. First one, it's up to you to find the training. I don't know who's out there. What I recommend is you be very careful about who you're taking your first aid training from. There's generally two. There's American Red Cross and there's American Heart Association. And the quality of the instructors are going to vary dramatically. If you find someone who says they can give you full first aid CPR AED training in 3 hours, walk away from them. It's an 8-hour class that needs to actually be longer than 8 hours. If you try and, even if you get it from the best instructor, 8 hours is not enough for this class. So anyone who says they can do this in 3 hours is suspicious.
So
They're
Patrick,
just trying to make money off you.
let me add to that. Go ahead to redcross.org, redcross.org, and all of those are very highly quality controlled classes. The Red Cross classes are. I don't know about others.
Okay, thank you very much.
Pierre Landry, go ahead.
Patrick, I just wanted to echo what Tom Worth wrote in the chat room, and that is when you were talking about being on the edges of political borders and so forth, do some drills ahead of time, organize, and reach out to your neighbors and see if you can do some assessment before the big one hits. And then you'll know the neighborhood, you'll know your fellows around you, and you can start reaching out beyond your own local area. And just to comment on the Red Cross training, I was a Red Cross CPR first aid instructor for years. Unfortunately, the quality does vary even within the Red Cross and the American Heart Association. So check with other people to find out whether you thought you got a good instructor.
Thanks, Pierre. Kathy Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you. Question about the staging area location. I know it was said where we should not be, which is at schools, which is kind of in a public view area. Would, if it's been determined, let's say your own house is safe, would it be okay to volunteer to have the staging area on private property, your own private property?
That may be all you can do. It's like I said, it's going to depend on your neighborhood. If that's the best you can do, it's not ideal, but at the same time, it's the best you can do. You're going to work with the resources you have. I don't want to say yes, definitely do that, but at the same time, it may be your only option.
Thank you.
Michael Godfrey, go ahead.
Patrick, I'm living in Ventura County right now. I'm a little frustrated because I don't seem to see a very active fire department CERT program here. And I'm concerned that that I want to maintain my allegiance to LAFD CERT, and the closest battalion is 17, and I haven't heard much from them. And I can get to that area, you know, within 30 minutes. And I've been on the call out teams for 5 years. So I'm wondering what you can suggest I do. And also the second question is the driving certification. I have that also. And I know that we haven't had a refresher course in about 2 years. So is there a plan for one?
So what LAFD has done is they've delineated between the official vetted call out team, which is you take additional training from the fire department directly. You've done a background check through LA City personnel, and you get to wear the LAFD CERT patch, or I'm sorry, LAFD patch on your uniform.
Yeah, I've got that.
And those people are managed by the fire department directly.
Okay.
Then there's the neighborhood CERT team. That's where it's a grassroots effort built up by the community to create this team. You and your neighbors form this, and the fire department does not dictate to you what you do and don't do. Probably don't do. They'll tell you what not to do, but they're not going to have their direct hands on building this local team. So in Ventura, it's really up to you. If you're frustrated, talk to your neighbors and say, hey, go get this training. Let's meet up. Let's figure out a plan. Let's build this thing together. The fire department's not going to do it for you. And then for the call out team, they expect the call out team are supposed to be leaders in our own communities and kind of doing that same thing. Same thing with the battalion coordinators. It's a grassroots effort. We have to do it ourselves. The fire department did not tell me to put this training on.
Am I still on the call out team even though I've moved to Ventura County?
We have a lot of people who live outside of the city of Los Angeles who are on the call out team.
Okay. Okay. And what about the driver training authorization?
Right now, everything's on hold.
Okay.
We'll have to see what happens.
Thank you. Thank you.
Patrick, a question from the chat. Can we include non-CERT volunteers in our teams deployed?
100% absolutely. If you don't do that, you are not going to have enough people. You're there, you've taken the training. The training includes how to work with, they're called convergent volunteers. And in fact, one thing I forgot to mention is we expect people to go to the fire stations looking to help. If you have a couple CERT people there, just like at the public gathering area, they can say, okay, we're in communication with these 3 CERT staging areas. We know that this staging area needs help. You guys are able to drive over there within walking distance, go to this location, find the staging area. It's at this, behind this building, and go check in with them. And we'll let them know that you're on your way. That's really why we do want to have people at the fire stations, because they're a great source of convergent volunteers.
Okay, Patrick, I don't have any more hands up or any more chat questions.
All right. Anyone else?
Okay, now I have a hand up. Marilyn Peters, go ahead. Cheeto, I see you. We're waiting for Marilyn, though.
Yeah.
See. Can you hear me now?
We got you, Marilyn.
Okay, all of a sudden my microphone just muted again by itself. But anyway, Patrick, I'm in a neighborhood that's about 10, 11 blocks from beginning to end, and then it covers a span of 3 blocks in terms of numbering of the houses. Okay, and it's just houses. There is no open space. The only thing, I've been working with one other person in my neighborhood to see where we could put a staging area. And the only thing we have is like somebody's driveway. We don't have anything behind buildings. There are no buildings. So what would you suggest? Or can somebody come out to help us to assess an area?
You're going to have to work with what you have. We did a drill last year in Mount Washington, and it was on the curb in front of someone, on the back of someone's truck. It is what, we had available to us. We initially looked at a church that was nearby and said this would be perfect. The church said, yeah, come use us. We want to be part of this community. And then we mapped it out and went, wait, this is on the very far edge, far corner of this neighborhood, and there's about a half-mile hike uphill to get to the neighborhood that we are actually going to be doing the assessment for. The church is not going to work. So we had to scramble and find something else, and we did what we had to do. I can't really, it's a grassroots effort. You're going to have to figure out your best option and then drill, do an exercise, see if it works. Unfortunately, all the plans in the world are going to do you absolutely nothing if they don't work. You haven't tried them out.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Cheeto Romero, go ahead.
Yeah, I live in Downey in a gated community, and then we were thinking of we could buy the equipment, and we could build a team of firefighting using the pool water. Now, are we allowed that, and can we be trained? Because I know we cannot tap from the hydrant we have in the compound, but we have pool water. We could buy the equipment. Can we be trained?
I don't know who would provide that training. You might want to reach out to the fire department and say, hey, this is what we reach out to your local fire station and say, hey, this is what we have. You're the ones who are going to be responding to our area. We have these pools, we have this equipment, or we're looking into getting this equipment. What do you guys recommend? And hopefully they're in touch with their community and they know, hey, this is an area, if we get you guys trained up, we don't have to worry about, and they'll be invested in providing you that kind of training.
Yeah, because
it depends.
Yeah, we have 10 buildings with 210 occupants, and we already have 6 CERT trained, and we have already built up the neighborhood watch part of our team.
That's great.
And we already identified EMTs and those in the medical field in our list of whom to call to build up the team in case.
That's great. That's wonderful, and the fire department should want that to happen, and they should want to provide the training. The reality is sometimes you'll call them up and tell them all this, and they'll go, "Don't do that. That's our job."
Exactly, that's what I heard.
So it is a partnership. It is a grassroots effort. I can't say any more because I don't know specifics about your neighborhood.
Thank you.
Agatha Irish, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Patrick, for having us from the East Coast. We appreciate it. We were on the other night, and we really enjoyed it and had a good time with you. I know that you're recording this session and that you will be putting it on your LA website. Is there any way that we from the East Coast can get it?
Yes, you can share it because it'll be made public.
Okay.
So you can come to our website or reach me offline through email. Okay. And once I put it up, I'll give you the link. And then the link will be public so you can share it to your sites.
And I want to say thank you again, because even though I did the 100 and the 230 or the 240 or whatever it is, this is making much more sense than when I had done it. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
A lot of the core of this is coming from 300 and 400 ICS classes.
Yes, and we have done those.
Expanding instances as they expand, because you really have to have that 10,000 foot perspective of how everything is going to look when a massive regional disaster occurs to put all the parts together.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Larissa Marco, go ahead.
Are you able to hear me now?
Larissa, you're breaking up too much for us to understand you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That was a little better. Try again.
I'm on a hilltop. I was doing ham radio testing, so I'm probably not good for cellular. I'm really sorry.
You're good now. Go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, as I just said, I'm not at home. I'm not in my battalion. If we're out and about, like the Ventura caller, if I'm at Point Magoo, if I'm in Orange County, wherever I happen to be when the disaster hits, what channel or what should I do with my radio so I could tune in? Obviously, I'm going to have to shelter in place.
That's an excellent question, and I wish I could give you an answer. The reality is that there is nothing set. There's nothing defined. There's no unified. This is what CERT's doing. I'm working to build some standards. I possibly mentioned a standard operating procedure (SOP) that I wrote for Battalion 2. That a lot of this is coming from. We've got commercial radios that we're working with, but each community is going to be different. And the reality is we have people who are coming from Battalion 6 to Battalion 2 drill, and their radios are not going to work with ours. That's simply it. If everyone's using FRS, then it makes things easier, because all the FRS radios can be reprogrammed to use it, but you really need to know your radio, and you still need to know what the local group is doing. I would say the best bet is if you know you're in a region, say you work in Ventura, or you work in Battalion 10, LAFD Battalion 10, live in Ventura, try and communicate with those where you're normally going to be around and find out what they're doing. See if they have a group and work with them and get on their comm plan and all that.
Can I follow up to this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So that's perfect in that scenario. What if it's just a regular day? You're having a picnic. You're in a certain city. You know, you're shopping at the mall. So what about in that instance? Would I go to my nearest fire station, even though they're not going to be there? What would you suggest?
Hopefully go to the fire station. That's pretty much the only thing you can do that I can think of.
Okay.
And hope that somebody shows up and says, hey, you tell them, hey, I'm CERT trained. Cool. I need you to go here.
That's what I'm thinking, because I think a lot of us we're not going to be at home at work necessarily. We might be shopping. We might be, at the beach.
Yeah. I posted the cert-la.com website. On that website should be a ham radio comm plan for CERT to use. Okay. So if you have your ham radio and you're in LA City, you can pull that comm plan up and hopefully find ham radio communicators that are on there.
I carry my pulse radios, my bug out bag, and my scanner. So hopefully to be of help and to receive help both.
You're better prepared than I am.
I doubt that. How can I, you're more prepared with your hands. How can I be added to Monday night?
I posted, I'll repost the Zello request form.
Okay, thank you. I meant as an EMT, you yourself, you don't need equipment. You can save lives on your own. I can only call for help.
That's an interesting point, and I'll re-mention it because I did mention this in the triage training that we did. As an EMT, I may be better suited as a team leader than going hands-on, because I can manage a couple of first aid pairs and have them do more good through me being eyes and ears and giving them advice and directing them than if I were to go hands-on and work on one patient at a time. So I recommend the people who are EMTs work on their team leadership skills and work on working with convergent volunteers or first aiders to be a force multiplier.
Okay, thank you for all you do.
You're welcome.
Pierre Landry, go ahead, and then I'll take some of the chat questions.
Thanks. I just wanted to share that when we did our drill, the staging area was in front of my house, or actually in my side yard. It wasn't hidden anyway, but it was away from what was going to be a natural gathering area for people, the public gathering area. So it doesn't have to be behind a building or tucked away. You want it to be kind of visible so people can find it if they're certain. So I cannot stress enough how much you learn by drilling, by doing a drill and then doing a debriefing afterwards, after action reports, evaluations, whatever you want to call it. You need to learn your lessons from doing actual on the street stuff. It's hard to do right now with the pandemic, but I strongly encourage you to go out and try that site, try a different scenario. What would happen if you were at work? Do you have your bug out bag? You might have the bag. Do you have the strong shoes and the long pants and the long sleeves too? So keep all that in mind and try it.
Yeah. And a little caveat to that is you want to make sure the training is as realistic as possible. A lot of times you'll set goals that are so easy to accomplish that there's literally no lessons learned from the drill, and that is not a good drill. You want to have trouble, you want to have difficulty, you want to have things that people had to work through, and so they learn the lessons. It's important to make the mistakes during training so that you don't make them in real life. And if you're doing a drill that has no lessons learned because it was too easy, it's not effective training. There was a question earlier about if you're in an area that you're not that familiar with, you haven't hooked up with the CERT team. Carolyn Burleson, the previous Central Bureau coordinator, says find the battalion headquarters for the fire department, because the local stations will be out managing their incidents, but there will probably be someone at the battalion headquarters who can then hopefully put you in touch with wherever they need to send you.
I appreciate that.
I didn't hear what that question was.
Yeah, we didn't catch that.
All
right, Patrick, and everyone else, there's a lot of good comments in the chat section on different tips and hints, and there's no reason that we need to go over them, but get into the chat session and just start scrolling through, and different people have posted a lot of good hints and a couple websites and so forth. 365 Pro Plus, go ahead.
Patrick?
Yes.
A question for future trainings. Is there a specific site to go to make sure we are alerted, email or something like that for all the future trainings?
You can keep an eye on our Central Bureau Eventbrite page, and I'll post it in the chat. It should be lafdcertcentral.eventbrite.com.
Perfect.
I believe that's what it is, but I might be wrong there. What I'll do is I'll also send a follow-up email to this. So if you did sign up on the Eventbrite, you should get an email, and I'll include the link to the recording. And also there's a handout, and I mentioned it earlier, but I don't know if anybody since then has seen it. I posted in the chat at the very beginning, and that's got the 10-step guide. I'll send that out as well in the email. If you did not get my email or did not register on Eventbrite, you can email me at lafdcertcentral@mycertteam.com.
Well, thank you very much.
And Patrick, there's a couple comments. You were going to post a link to the comm plan, to the ham radio comm plan. Do you have that off the top of your head, or you'll post that later?
The CERT comm plan is up at cert-la.com.
Okay, Pamela Gome, go ahead. Pamela, there you go. Pamela, don't forget to unmute.
On the chat, I'm not getting anything on the chat. I've got a banner that says it's only available to team members, so I can't see any of the chat.
Email me at lafdcertcentral@mycertteam. That's M as in Mike, Y as in Yankee, C as in Charlie, E as in Echo, R as in Romeo, R as in T as in Tango, T as in Tango, E as in Echo, A as in Alpha, M as in Mike.com. So lafdcertcentral@mycertteam.com.
LAFD CERT Central?
Yes.
All one word?
Yes.
And then is that at my CERT team?
or
Yes.
slash? Okay.
mycertteam.com.
Okay, great. All right.
What I can do is I can pop up the first slide that has my email on it.
Okay. And thank you very much, Patrick.
You can find our LAFD Facebook pages as well.
Okay.
And you can probably find us there.
Thank you very much, Patrick. This was a terrific presentation. You've done a wonderful job. It's the first one that I've seen that makes a lot of sense in trying to coordinate everything and letting us know that it isn't coordinated.
Maggie Elliott, go ahead.
Sorry, darling, I hit that accidentally.
Okay.
Can I get a round of applause for Mike, who's been doing an awesome job at helping me admin?
Great job, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Great job.
Sure.
Great job.
It's a team effort, right? Yeah, I don't have any more questions posted. After you just did a good job, let me check one more time. Right. There's no more questions posted, Patrick, or no more hands raised.
All right.
Rico, go ahead. One more fast question. Rico, don't forget to take your mute off.
Hello. Testing one.
Okay, Rico, we hear you.
Thank you. Just a couple more questions, Patrick. I'm sorry for taking a little bit more of your time, but it's always essential to hear as much as we can when we can. Quick questions for you. That CERT email list for those of us that are in LA residents, is that coming along pretty good? Will we be expecting something from you on that?
Yes. I've shown Captain Wire Eater. We're working on building a citywide email list for CERT volunteers so that we can easily put you in contact with your battalion coordinator. Your battalion coordinator can reach out to you, and it'll be a uniform product for the entire city.
Perfect.
He liked the demo that I provided, and we're going to be hopefully talking about it more of this upcoming next couple weeks. I know our CERT bureau coordinators are interested in it, and I think probably some of our battalion coordinators are really going to like it because it's going to make it easier for them so they don't have to manage their own lists.
Great. So there will be a launch date on that, correct? At some point.
I really hope so.
Okay.
I spent a lot of work on getting it done.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And secondly, in tangent to I think the announcements we got, I think there was like a cascade of people replying, and then it went pretty wide in terms of how many people it reached. But we don't reply to that. That was a follow-up email you sent back to us, correct?
That's correct. So I'm using Microsoft Teams, and when I send out a calendar invite, it sends it to everybody who's been added as a member. So the process is a lot of manual. You sign up on Eventbrite. I then send you an email saying that this is what you can expect from Teams. I then copy your email address into Teams. I then correct it's kind of really annoying. I have to then update your name on there because it just shows your email address. So you see some people have the first part of their email address as their name. And then I add a Teams meeting, and it emails everybody who's already been added to the list. And then they get the email, and at the very bottom, for some reason, it says reply all to join this conversation.
Yeah.
Please don't reply all. Join the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. And then lastly, for a referral, just one more time, because I've heard when we had our CERT training, at some point it would be wise to look at FEMA in terms of some of the courses that they offer. Can you kind of update that? Is that still in effect now?
Yes. So FEMA has what's called the Independent Study Courses, IS. And you heard mentioned earlier the IS 100, 200, 700, and 800 are typically what they recommend. Those are about incident command system and how disasters occur and how response happens to them and how they expand. The 300 and 400 are in-person classes, but 100 and 200 everybody should take incident command or IS 100 and 200. And if
Okay.
you search for FEMA, IS stands for Independent Study 100. It should take you there, and that's going to be a great start.
Okay. Yes, FEMA.gov, go there on their home site.
Yeah, I think it's a subsite off of them.
Okay.
There's an independent study branch of their website.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Patrick, I think that wraps it up.
All right, thank you everybody for coming. We had, last I saw, like 118 people on here. So that's
Yeah, a couple
great.
people have checked out in the last 5 minutes or last 10 minutes, but yes.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome. Everybody have a good rest of your weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
job,
you.
Patrick.
Great
Mike,
job.
thank you.